What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Elsperman. I am your host today. And in this podcast episode, I am going to be breaking down how to actually create exponential growth in 2024. Not from the place of wiping the slate completely clean from 2023, which I think is very common, right? You say December 31st, the year ends, January 1st, it begins. And therefore you're at zero with all your goals, but actually from a place of continuously compounding momentum where you get to build off of the growth of the previous year and the triumphs and the tribulations, and everything gets to fuel your year ahead. So rather than feeling like you're starting from zero, you're starting from a solid foundation already, no matter what has happened in this past year. We're starting it off with a bang, and I cannot wait to take you through this episode. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here and just to cross over into a new year with you. I feel honored and blessed that you've chosen to be in this space time and time again. And if you're new, welcome to the party, baby. We like to have a lot of fun over here where we talk about all things purpose, mindset, spirituality, and overall creating a life that makes you feel fully alive from the inside out. This entire podcast was sourced from my own exploration and self-growth and honestly awakening, where I hit my knees and realized, hot damn, I have everything in my life, but I'm not fully filled up. I'm not actually fulfilled. Now what? And then through the process of rebuilding my own fulfillment, finding my purpose, and then creating a business from my purpose, I'm deciding to share that all with you and share the ins and outs of the entire process and little nuggets I've learned along the way to create a shift for you as well so that you can start living fully alive. So I cannot wait to head into the podcast episode. And as for a life update goes for me, it is January 1 as I'm recording this, which I find extra special. I'm in Florida right now, actually spending New Year's with one of my dear friends, Laura. If you guys have listened to our previous podcast episodes, you know her, you love her. We are spending a little girls' weekend in Florida, hanging out and resting, and then Nolan's going to come down and meet me and just really have like play and rest time after having such a busy holiday season between both of our businesses and really just going through this big sprint at the end of the year of things picking up and expansion and go, go, go. I mean, you guys get it with the holidays and there's so much going on that now we're just like, let's take a beat and rest. And I find it really interesting that over the past few years at New Year's, I notice at times there is that urgency to be like, let's go, let's fucking create. And everything starts from zero. You become a new person tomorrow. And I love all of that. And I think it's really incredible. And I love the fire. And at the same time, I also witness the natural cycles of nature, where right now we're still in the dead of winter. We're still in January. We still got a couple more months till spring. And therefore, our bodies are in this internal period of really looking inward and diving deep and reflecting. And it's shifted my focus from being very external, like, what do I need to do? What do I need to create right when the new year hits? Into being incredibly internal and looking at what do I want to solidify and integrate from this past year and cycle of life in order to actually build true momentum and plant seeds for the spring and the summer? What needs to be cleaned up? What needs to really be looked at? What am I squeezing out from this past cycle and year to really move forward into the new? And so rather than doing, for me, it's like, let's slow down and reflect. I've been having so many beautiful, just deep conversations and talks and looking back at the year. And I've been doing a bunch of different exercises with my girls inside of Unleashed of like really, really looking at what is this year brought? And so if there's ever any part of you that's feeling this urgency to like go and do and push right now, also check in and say, what is my truth? If you feel that, amazing, go do it. But if you're also feeling more internal and slow, reminder that that's okay. And you get to slow down and you get to really squeeze out just the beautiful moments of this past year in order to create something absolutely incredible this year. And that's really what we dive into in this podcast episode, all around working with your energy and with the cycles of nature rather than against them, and using that to set yourself up for absolutely exponential growth in 2024 so that you can see all of the seeds that you're planting and the goals that you're creating come to fruition throughout the year. So with that said, I cannot wait to take you through this podcast episode. It's quick, it's short, it's snappy, and it is actually a snippet from a coaching call that I had with my clients last year on New Year's. So if you have ever wondered what it's like to be in the room with me, you are going to be a fly on the wall. So it's fun. You'll see me in action, and I can't wait to see you there. So let's dive into it. When we have the start of the year, so often, and I see this so much, it's like, this is your time to start over. You're setting your goals for your future. It's your clean slate. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Right? There's nothing wrong with feeling like an energetic reset. I think it's a really beautiful thing. And also, I think one of the biggest disservices that we do to ourselves, especially within personal growth, is saying that all of our goals start over once we hit January. Right? It's like having that illusion within our minds, like, oh, I didn't get this one this year, and get this one this year, and get this one this year. Okay, those are failures. I guess we'll try again. And it's like sometimes when we're in that energy of, I guess I'll try again, I guess I'll just set that goal again, our faith starts to dwindle with certain ones, right? Like, have you had a goal? And maybe you've sneakily done this in your subconscious where you've like been holding it, you've been like kind of holding it every single year, and you know it's something that you want for your entire life, but every single year you're like, did it happen? Did it happen yet? Why didn't it happen? And then you judge yourself based on that. If it happened or if it didn't happen, yeah, relatable. Right. And then you're like, gosh, is it even worth it to put on my vision again this year if I didn't get it last year and I didn't get it the year before and I didn't get it the year before? When's it actually going to happen? Right. And like, this is the illusion of time at its finest, because the truth is that January 1, yes, there is some truth that like our calendars start again if you have like a paper calendar, or that, our books close and our books open again. And there are certain tangible things in this 3D world that we actually have to start over. However, if you think about time, it's not like on January 1st, something happens and you step into a new body and you're like, this is the new year. I am a new me. I am completely different, changing the setting to 2023, right? It's like, that doesn't happen. We're still a human living a human experience, living a life. And it's way more continuous and cyclical than we give it credit for. So the masculine is very much start, stop, staccato. Right. So you could see it as like the staircase, right? Up and over, up and over, up and over, and up and over. The feminine within us is much more cyclical. So if you notice, throughout the years, we have the seasons. And then maybe you notice within yourself, you're like, hey, this was the season of this. And then this was the season of this. And then this was the season of this. And it kind of flows all together. That is more so of the truth than this, like, okay, the year starts on January 1st. Okay, the year closes on December 31st. It's way more cyclical. So when we can start to get into the energy of like, my goals are continuously compounding, right? Rather than starting new, I'm stacking these blocks one over the next, over the next, over the next, and seeing our growth through that compounded lens, we actually have way more payoff. And so I'm a nerd about some science and math things sometimes. And I was going through this and I was looking, okay, growth is continuously compounding. Right. And I was like, where did I first hear that term? It was in some sort of math class. It was in like my calculus class or something like that. I don't know where they teach you that. And I was thinking about interest, right? So if you look at the example of interest, you have discrete compounding in your interest, and you have continuously compounding in your interest. If you are very smart, you find continuously compounding interest. That gives you the biggest payoff over time, right? So what does it actually look like to be continuously compounding? Because we can talk about it all day, but I don't like to see it, right? So if you think about with interest, again, we're not talking about interest here. We're talking about our growth, but it's the same sort of idea, right? On this line here, we have discrete compounding interest. That means you check in every single month, your interest compounds. Right. So every single month, let's say you're getting paid back on interest, or every single year, let's say you're getting paid back on interest, right? There are different intervals that we check in. So with our growth, it could be like looking at every single year. It's like, what did I do? What did I do? Right. And that's when you check in and you compound your growth. Then, right, we have continuously compounding. So that is this smooth exponential line right here, all the way up, right? In the example of interest, that is when you are measuring interest at every single point and the intervals are so close together that it's basically zero. So every single moment you are checking in, your interest is compounding over and over and over and over and over. And by the end, continuously compounding interest has a way higher payoff than discretely compounding interest. Okay. So whether or not you are a fan of the math or not, it doesn't matter. The truth is that our growth is on that continuously compounding sign. It's not like we're like, yes, I'm going through life. And then I check in every single month and I'm like, what did I learn? What didn't I learn? And then we move forward from there. It's like every single moment you're learning something new, whether you're aware of it or not. And I'm sure in this space, like I know for me, my growth, my awareness is the thing that continually speeds up. Where every single moment I'm learning something new, every single moment I'm asking myself, what is the deeper meaning here? What is this showing me? And when we do that over time, our growth becomes continuous, always compounding on top of the next. And as you can see in this beautiful exponential function, it means that your improvements are slow at the beginning, but they increase rapidly over time. Right. So when our growth is continuously compounding, it might feel like in the beginning of when you started, like I want you to think all the way back to PMM and you went through 3 months and it felt like you probably had a big shift, but it probably took some more work. Now, whether you're conscious of it or not, and I see this within every single one of you, your growth is faster, right? It's like you might feel and you might look back at this year and you might feel like, I feel like I've lived 5 lifetimes in this one year, right? Or you feel like in 1 week you have an up and a down and up and a down and all around, and then you learn something, right? It's like those things start to speed up over time. So what does this actually mean for us? Do we have any questions here before I keep going? Nada? Okay. So what does this actually mean for us? First of all, you can never go backwards. If you think about that line on the graph, there was no going backwards. It was continuously going up. Your growth is continuously compounding over and over and over. So even in the points where you feel stagnant, usually that is just the precursor to your breakthrough. And if you've ever found yourself saying like, oh, I just need to get back to how I was with this sort of habit. I just need to get back to when I was super motivated and into it. I just need to get back to when I was like super um, happy in my relationship. You could never go back because who you were is like this point and where you are is already up here. So it might feel like the challenge is much bigger as you are continuously expanding, but you've never gone backwards, right? You're only evolving forwards. Okay. So what this also means is that your growth is continuously compounding. It's only speeding up. So when I tell you guys like it's only up from here, it's because I mean it, right? And it's truly, if you look at that graph function again, there's no going up or there's no going back. It's always going up. And so when we look at every single year, it's not like, oh my gosh, I didn't achieve this goal, therefore I must be stagnant. I must be going back. It's like, no, you're only going up. It's building one on top of the next, on top of the next. And so what that also means is that as your growth speeds up, so does the good and so does the bad, which is beautiful. Right. And so, excuse me, if you felt like ever you're like, okay, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. I feel like one day I'm really high and the next day I'm like questioning my whole entire being. And then I come out of that and then I'm really high and then I'm questioning and then it's like up and down, up and down. You can start to feel that the wonderful moments speed up. Also, the not so good moments speed up as well. And that is a really beautiful thing. And so we can look at when the not so good moments speed up, like that's a really great thing. But then we also look at when the good moments speed up. And if you've ever felt like you're like, wow, like I just achieved that thing and I wasn't even in it. I didn't even realize it. Or like I just watched that sunset and it felt like that. Or like you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that moment, I did I even pause to feel grateful? Right? It's like you will be so quickly outgrowing where you are that it is even more important to be grateful and to have one foot in gratitude and one foot in where we're going. One foot in gratitude and one foot in your vision, right? It's why I say grateful as fuck for where you are and so freaking excited for where you're headed, right? That is the most important thing because the meaning that we give and the energy that we place on a situation is what's going to determine how long it lasts. Right. So if everything's happening at quantum speed and it's speeding up over and over and over and over, that's so freaking beautiful. But when we can pause and like, for example, we were watching the sunset on the beach the other day and life, again, it happens so fast. I could totally just be there. I could just be there. I could watch the sunset and then I could think about what we're doing next. Or I could be like, I'm going to place so much meaning on this. I'm going to look at the sunset and I'm going to feel it. I'm going to see how freaking beautiful. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to have Nolan standing next to me. I'm just going to feel how beautiful this moment actually is and be so grateful and expand the meaning that I place on that moment, which allows that moment to actually expand energetically. Are you guys with me on this? Right. So as your time and your growth speeds up, the more meaning, the more gratitude we place on a moment, the more that it actually feels like it energetically expands and it creates this imprint for us. On the opposite side, the beautiful thing is that when we're going through something that's challenging, that can also speed up. And it speeds up based on the meaning that we put to it. Right. So, for example, if you're in something sticky and you're like, gosh, I really don't like this, you could totally make this mean, oh my gosh, I went backwards. I am a horrible person. I did something wrong. They all hate me. Everything is going downwards. It's failing. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? I'm going to live under a bridge. You could totally compound that and feel the spiral even more by your meaning that you put to it. Or you could look at it and say, you know what, I'm not going to put that much meaning to it. This is just another thing that's happened. It's on my path. It's clearly pointing me in the upwards direction because we're on that exponential line upwards. It's clearly pointing me there. So I'm just going to move through this. I'm going to alchemize it. I'm going to shift it. We're going to go. And this isn't saying to not feel your feelings, like feel your feelings when they come up, but what is the meaning that you're putting to a situation? Right? When we can adjust the meaning that we put to a situation, that adjusts how fast we move through it. And you probably look back and you're like, wow, that wasn't even that bad because I'm here to tell the story. Right? And so, what if we were to play with the meaning that we give to everything? And just start, it's like when we talk about time being stretchy, like that's how we can stretch it is when you're in the good, really be there, savor it, love it, be in it, be grateful for it, feel your feet on the earth. And when you're in something kind of challenging, kind of sticky, be like, okay, this is happening. We're going with it. I'm not going to make it mean anything about me. I'm going to feel what comes up and I'm going to move through it. Okay. So the good is speeding up, bad is speeding up as well. And the last thing of what this beautiful compounding growth over time, what this means is that you are speeding up towards your vision, whether you like it or not, which is the best thing ever. And it's why we start with a vision. It's why you all started with purpose work. It's why you all started with like, what is the vision? What do I desire for my life? And it's why I come back to my vision every single day, because what are those moments where we start to fumble our vision, right? It's usually when we're afraid of it not happening. So you feel a challenge come up and you're like, oh gosh, this doesn't look like my vision. This looks actually in complete contrast. Meanwhile, the universe, our beautiful sky daddy up there, is like, this is literally just the building block to what you want. And you're like, this is not the vision. Gosh, it's not happening how I thought, how I put it on paper. I'm just gonna not gonna hold the vision. And sky daddy's like, if you would just hold the vision through this challenge, I promise it'll happen a lot faster. And you're like, no, it's too hard. It's too much. I can't even look at the vision. It's triggering me. I feel like a failure right now. I'm already disappointed in myself. I'm just not gonna look at the vision. Right? And sky daddy again was like, no, just hold the vision, I promise. And we want to fumble that vision, right? And so the truth is, you are going to speed up towards your vision, whether you like it or not, which is the most beautiful thing of why you've planted the seeds. So, what's the harm in holding it? What's the harm in holding your vision exactly in the moments that you don't want to? Exactly in the moments when it brings up all of your fears, all of your discomfort, all of your being afraid of disappointment, and trying to buffer yourself from this disappointment. What is the harm in holding it? And it's like in those moments where we want to just drop the vision and say, I can't even look at it. I don't even, or I want to like loosen my grip on it because it'll happen or maybe it won't happen. I'm okay either way. Like, I'll just live this life. I'll just settle. Like, we're fine. Those moments, it's like, what's the harm in actually holding the vision? And typically, when we loosen our grip on our vision, when we try to drop the vision, it's because we're trying to save ourselves from disappointment. We're trying to buffer ourselves because the ego thinks if we experience disappointment, that it's going to die. Have you ever felt that? You're like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of this disappointment. I'm going to do everything. And it's so interesting. All the different things, how you mold yourself to try and keep yourself away from disappointment, all the strange, like if you were looking at yourself, you'd be like, what is happening over there? You are doing the strangest actions to try and keep yourself from feeling disappointment. And you're already feeling disappointment. So what's going on over there? Right? It's like the moment that we're afraid of disappointment, we're already feeling disappointment. So what do you have to lose? I look at this and I've shared this with you all. It's like, this low level of disappointment is something that I've uncovered this year of like, wow, I didn't even realize that this was in me. like this constantly being afraid of disappointing myself or disappointing others. So I'm going to set the bar so freaking high for myself so that I never disappoint anyone else. But meanwhile, I'm just running away from disappointment every single step along the way. Right? And so how I look at that is like I've been in training to handle disappointment my entire life. I can handle that, but what's on the other side? I have not been in training to hold the goodness. I have not been in training to hold my vision no matter what. I've not been in training to see what's on the other side of disappointment. So let's try that one, right? Let's activate that muscle group instead of the one that we've been flexing our entire lives, right? So, what is the harm in actually holding your vision when you want to fumble it? Okay. So, you're speeding up towards your vision no matter what. So, let's hold it. This is why business is so spiritual. And whenever you put your feet in to creating something for yourself, your soul is in it. Like your heart is in it. And you know how many people walk around without their hearts and their souls in every single day? And it's such a freaking beautiful thing to be the courageous warrior who says, like, I'm going to have my heart and my soul in this. It is the most courageous thing that you can do because guess what? You're going to feel a lot more because your heart's actually in it. You might look back and you'd be like, gosh, I wish I were just a little bit more mentally, emotionally, spiritually stable like I was a year ago. But was your heart actually in every single day? Most likely, no. Right? And it's like when you activate your heart, yes, it's going to feel like a roller coaster. That's where we get to play with the meaning. We get to get really good and agile. That's like the next step in your warrior training is like, okay, now I feel like what it feels like to have my heart in it. This is a freaking roller coaster. And I know like when I've been in those times, especially when I laugh back at the times when I was like, I didn't have mentorship and I was just kind of free falling. I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then I would like run myself into the ground because I would make all of these ups and downs mean something about my business, about who I was as a person. And I wanted to close my doors. I think I posted this, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, where I was like, I wanted to close my doors a couple of years ago around Christmas. I wanted to say, no more. I'm going to go work at Target. I'm going to go teach yoga. I'm not going to do this thing because I was making the challenge and the ups and downs mean something about me. And when we do that, we set ourselves up to just freaking fumble the vision completely. Right? And it's like, okay, so you know there's going to be ups and downs. Now let's play with what we mean or what meaning that we give to them and start to get really good and really agile with navigating it because they're going to be there. They are going to be there and we love it. We love it because that's our grounds for growth. All right, my loves, that is what I have for you on this podcast episode today. I cannot wait to see you in future podcast episodes throughout 2024. We will be dropping them every Wednesday. So mark your calendars and make sure to click that subscribe button so that you are notified of when those podcast episodes drop. It also helps us expand this message to be able to reach more people, impact more lives, so that we can all start living fully freaking alive, baby, on purpose, aligned, creating magic. I will see you there. Happy New Year.